If you followed Tesla for the last few years, you've noticed that the last few months have been a little weird, just a little bit ugly, a little painful, especially if you're an investor in the company. And of course, this isn't just a Tesla thing with inflation and everything else going on in the global markets. It's been kind of a tough ride for those of us that are in the stock market or are following certain companies. However, I'm having a really tough time shaking the feeling that Tesla's future is the brightest it's ever been. And let me walk you through why I think that's the case. Let's split it up into two sections. Let's talk about first about the future products and future things that Tesla's working on, and then we'll talk about the current variables that are happening today that are enabling Tesla to be in this position. From a product perspective, you have the Cybertruck, you have the Semi, you have the Roadster, although the Roadster is going to be real tiny. Really, the big player here is going to be Cybertruck. This is something that we already know is under works. From the looks of it, the final design of the car has been finalized, and now we're just waiting for the parts to be ordered, for the supply to be ordered, and all the pieces put in place in Giga Austin for that product to come out the doors. You also have Elon talking about a robotaxi coming out here in the next year or two, yet another exciting thing that's happening for Tesla in the future. However, I also think there's going to be a separate model that's going to fit a smaller vehicle niche, the $25,000 car, quote unquote. And this $25,000 car, probably $30,000 now with inflation or whatever it may be. This is going to be an important niche for Tesla to fill, especially in the world of inflation and the fact that EV automakers outside of Tesla, if there are any, especially with the OEMs who are just starting to ramp up their production lines, they're going to really struggle to offer a compelling product in this price range, say between $20,000 and $35,000. And you think about the jurisdictions that exist today that are going to be resistant to full self-driving or autonomy, these places are going to be very important for Tesla to introduce themselves with a cheaper vehicle that's more affordable than the Model 3 and could have self-driving features, but it's not specifically a robo-taxi. It's just a cheaper Model 3 or Y. I strongly believe that this is something that they're working on in parallel with the robotaxi to ensure that those markets are being met. And these markets could be in Europe, they could be in South America, parts of Asia, even Africa, right? There's a lot of different places in the world that could benefit from a cheaper vehicle that's not necessarily a robotaxi, but it's at least affordable for most people in those regions. Then you have the FSD ramp, which is something that has been going on for 6 years? It's been a while, but it's coming out in 6 months. Everybody knows it. Of course, kidding aside, we are on the cusp of something like this actually happening. And I made a video about this previously where I think Andrej Karpathy taking a sabbatical and Elon taking our Twitter are signs that full self-driving is much closer than we think due to the fact that they wouldn't really get quote unquote distracted. They're not really being distracted here, but they're refocusing their energies in different areas, which means that the number one priority of the company, which has been set by Elon before, that being full self-driving, is actually in a place to get done. And if you layer on the confidence that Elon has been having in his latest interviews, that gives me the signal that full self-driving is actually much closer than we all think. There's probably a parallel to be drawn between the full self-driving ramp that's happening right now and the Model 3 ramp back in 2017, 2018, 2019. There's going to be this time period where the technology has to be finalized, it has to be released to the masses, but once it gets released to the masses and folks begin to understand the true value of this technology, then I think the markets will react accordingly. And of course, you have the bot and the fact that AI Day in September will most likely feature the bot here. I don't think Elon would have said, no, we're going to work on the bot and hopefully we'll have a copy. I think if they don't show something like that at the AI Day that's happening in September, I think it's going to be a massive disappointment and it's not par for the course for the company. I do strongly believe, I'm basically 99% sure that they'll have a bot at that specific event, which I think is going to be super exciting, especially if they're able to articulate some sort of movement with the bot that's going to be helpful in, say, a warehouse environment or a factory environment, which I believe they'll do. I don't think it's a Tesla event unless they showcase some really cool tech that hasn't been done before at a very cost-effective price. And then, of course, you have the ramp of solar, you have the ramp of batteries as 4680 batteries continue to become more and more plentiful and other suppliers come on board, yada. There's a lot of different things that Tesla is going to be working on here that we're not even aware of in the coming years that are super exciting for its future. Now, if we shift our focus to things that are actually happening or have happened, I think that that paints an even clearer picture that Tesla's future is the brightest it's ever been. And if you enjoy what you're watching so far, I would love it if you throw me a like. This helps the YouTube algorithm show this to more people. Thank you very much. It's no secret that Tesla's cash to debt ratio right now as a company is extremely, extremely good. They have about $18 billion in the bank with essentially no debt. That's helping them fund every single thing that they're working on. And the big thing that they're working on right now, which we all know, are Berlin and Austin ramps. And these two factories for the next couple of years are going to be producing probably upwards of 500,000 to 1 million cars each. And so if you take that picture and compare it to the previous 5 years, this is a vastly different place that Tesla is at. They figured out how to ramp factories already. They've ramped Fremont, they've ramped Shanghai, and now they're going to be able to take the best lessons from those two factories and apply them to Berlin and Austin. Again, with $18 billion of cash on hand, which gives them a massive security blanket. And this is in an environment now where EV adoption is much, much higher, especially globally. Back in 17, 18, and 19, especially for those not in the Tesla community, it wasn't 100% clear that EVs were actually going to become a thing, that everyone was going to move towards EVs. Now in 2022, it's become super obvious that every single automaker that's making cars today is going to shift to EVs. Some faster than others, some slower than others, but it's a clear trend that we're all going EV. And this is backed up by the fact that Tesla has over a year backlog in some regions with no marketing. And this is obviously a really good problem to have, that you can't make enough cars to satisfy the demand. But if you compare this to 5 years ago, what a turn of events that has been, where the market, especially outside of Tesla, people did not think this was going to be a thing. They thought, well, 2030, 2040, EVs are going to take over, blah, blah, blah. It's happening a lot faster than people think. And again, the demand that Tesla's having is a reinforcement, is a data point that tells us that this is actually happening. But for me, the biggest piece that tells me that Tesla's future is the brightest it's ever been is that the culture is alive and well. And the biggest signal that we got as of recent for that specific variable is that Elon has made it very, very clear that the culture of accountability is not going anywhere. This includes Elon calling everyone back to work, and this also includes the announcement of the 10% layoffs or cuts, as you want to call it. I think what has happened here in the last couple years, especially during COVID, is that as Tesla grew, I think there may have been some organizational errors within the company that may have reduced the speed of innovation or the speed of information being passed between organizations to get stuff done. Layer in the fact that Tesla is a manufacturing company first, and if you have a lot of folks not at the buildings actually focusing on the problems and being there to really help folks solve the issues or to clear bottlenecks or to provide support in person, you're going to have a lot of issues where you're going to be much slower than you actually should be. And the fact that Elon has had a no BS approach to this and said, yep, everybody get your ass back to work. Oh, and by the way, if you're not performing, you're gone, essentially. These are very positive things for the culture of accountability. The one thing that was evidently clear for me while I was working there for 4 years is that Tesla is made up of people that want to get stuff done. And when you have a culture or you have variables that don't allow people to get stuff done as quickly as humanly possible, that's going to foment some sort of negative feelings within the staff that in the long term could ruin the culture that has made Tesla so successful. And so with a company of over 100,000 people, ensuring that culture is alive and well is so important and so hard to do. But I think Tesla is incredibly lucky to have someone like Elon at the helm that's willing to give out those instructions and is willing to say, yep, this is where I draw the line. This is how it's going to get done. During the community forums that I host on Fridays, the one thing that came up as a topic is that the culture of Tesla, the thing that Elon and the leadership team have built to ensure that the company moves as fast as humanly possible, to empower people, to ensure all the tools are present, to make sure that people are at work and getting stuff done. That is truly the machine that builds the machine, which is the company, the factories, the robots that build the machine, which are the cars and the products and the services that are offered by the company. And if that first machine breaks, if that first layer machine is not there to make everything else, you're going to have a problem. And so these steps taken by the company to ensure the culture is alive and well gives me the signal that Tesla, now that they have all that cash, now that they have 4 factories, and now that they have over 100,000 employees, how can this not be the best positioned company on planet Earth right now? Do you think this is an accurate representation? What are you afraid of? Do you have some fears that the company has short term? Are you afraid of the current economic downturns? I would love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day. Take it easy. Bye-bye.